So, all right. Welcome back to episode 2 of the 2024 Other League Pod. Tonight's featured guest. I'll throw a little tidbit here. Unfortunately, Snyder and I did record one on Wednesday for a good solid hour and a half. Real long session. I always say that we're going to keep it concise. Uh, and unfortunately, something no one hit record or production team lost the film. I'm not really sure. Verdict's still out, but any case, Ann, thanks for filling in on the emergency pod, making sure we're getting one out before Sunday morning, hopefully.
Yeah, no worries at all. I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back on the other league pod, and looking forward to going into our matchups from last week, and looking forward to this week as well.
All right, brother. Well, there's it's kind of convenient that we're gonna have you on the pod, I should say, because we matched up with each other, kind of recapping the week 3 matchups. But um, I'm gonna start with the Bastards and Beeves. We're gonna start here, just in terms of recapping from last week and some takeaways here. I mean, Beeve does it on Monday night. Seems like forever ago. We're filming this on a Saturday. But anyways, Monday night comes through with ETN and kind of getting some junkyard touches there, but pulls a big one out, taking out the Bastards. This was a good matchup, or at least billed to be one. Very underscoring compared to the projections, but what do you see, Anth? What's your takeaways? I mean, take it either way, what side you want, and what you highlight here. I mean, not much. Everyone kind of underperformed.
Yeah, for sure. Like the projections are 118 to 115, so as you can see, way off those projections there, and a very close, almost 2 point margin. Yeah, basically for Logan's side, I mean, CJ Stroud was way off. I mean, they lost 34-7, so that was just a terrible game from the Texans side. Only 11 points, and then the guys that you expect to get a lot of points, like Tyreek Hill, the injury to Tua has really, really, really affected his game because I mean, look at week 1, he's got 26 points, and you're thinking that's he's going to hit that or close to that. I mean, 20 points every week, but the injury to Tua is significant, and there's no way that they're going to replace that value. I'm not saying he's the greatest quarterback in the world, but I mean, there's definitely a connection there. So that's a big one. So only getting 7 from him, and Kamara, he's not going to go for 30, like every single week, but 15 still respectable. Unfortunately, just not a lot from the QB and his number one receiver, and of course Mike Evans only with 3 as well. So that's definitely significant there. So. Almost could have pulled it out, but of course, at the end, Buffalo's destroying them, and he gets a couple points from ETN at the end and pulls it away. So nothing too much to look into there. Just I mean, the Texans will bounce back. I mean, I think they're one of the favorites to win the AFC, if not for Kansas City. But they just definitely a step back there for some reason, only 7 points. So that's pretty much the main issue there was Houston and Miami for me.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really more to highlight. I mean, it's a big win for Nils. I'll say that, to squeak one through, especially coming down the wire there on Monday night. We kind of highlighted a little bit in terms of what you just said. I mean, even on the previous ep with Snyder, we were kind of talking about what's gonna happen with that Miami offense without a quarterback. So going to be interesting to see what Tyreek does. If Tua does come back, if he's out for the year or not. I'm not. No one really knows yet, but um, that's a big cog, obviously, in terms of being the number one pick in the draft. So, unfortunate there, obviously, with the Tua injury and just that dynamic now in that offense. But I think I mean, both of these teams, I think, are top teams in the league between Nils and Logue. So, I would be surprised if these guys aren't playoff teams, barring any crazy injuries. I mean, and Logue's plugging and playing with the RB2 spot. I mean, Madison somehow keeps scoring for him, and he's grabbing everybody he can from the waivers and stashing them and seeing what happens. But yeah, more to come. Tough loss, but like I said, I think these are top teams in the league for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's go back. Never quick with these. Hold on one second.
Yeah, not
All
yet.
right.
We're not gonna preview. We're not gonna recap that matchup quite yet. We're gonna wait to the end.
Yeah, let's not get to that one. Um,
The
Let's go
Arby's.
Plantation. Yeah, let's go Plantation and Andre. I mean, Andre just continues to put up points. I mean, throws up another 120 spot. As we have always said, happy spot, for anyone that's a fantasy manager, at least in terms of what we do in this league. 120, 130 is a healthy number. Gonna be a tough out. Gets a real nice outing from Joe Burrow. I'm sure he's happy to see that. I mean, he's got Jane Daniels also on the bench, so he's got I know he's throwing out Joe Burrow for maybe some trade bait. Um, we'll see here. But Rashee Rice, I got to highlight him. I mean, the guy's been a beast.
Yeah.
I think he's the number 3 or 2 receiver on a fantasy points perspective. Let's go right here. Points per bit. Yeah, well, this is PPR. Yeah, 2.
Oh,
So, I mean, the guy's a stud. Really, really great pick in terms of, I think it was a 4th round pick or 5th round pick for Andy. Really paying off. He's a true number 1 receiver for him. And he's got some horses. I mean, he's got, you know, Brees Hall and Achan. I mean, Achan's still going to be a cog even without that offense being, quarterback less. We'll see. Scoop Huntley going this week for him. So see if that changes anything. But yeah, Andy's team's really good. I think he's definitely going to be top heavy. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. But he's got a couple pieces out and he still puts up 120 without, basically a tight end, although Ferguson looks like he's starting to kind of pick it up for him in the absence of Ingram, and Jacksonville's terrible. So it might be
yeah.
Ferguson all the way. And then, obviously Debo injury. So we'll see. I mean, I think on the flip side, what do you see from Arby's? I mean, obviously, shorted his projection and unfortunately takes the loss.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, unfortunately, it comes down to the Eagles. Eagles were they somehow get the victory when we watching that game a little bit too Sunday, and I don't understand how they only scored 15 points. They somehow got the victory on the road too, which is insane. Only 10 points. That's just not going to get it done. I mean, I can speak to that. Like when the quarterback's getting 10 or less is not gonna be good for your chances to win that week. And it sucks because for him because he's looking at his roster and says, okay, Charbonnet filling in for Kenny Walker, he gets 25 points,
It's
and
big.
Zach Moss gets 20. I mean, that's all you can ask for him. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, you got a couple guys that like you don't expect to get too many points. They get the 20 pointers, but it's just like yeah. Unfortunately, Jalen Hurts only gets you 10. Obviously going against a really good team in Dre. I mean, you gotta have everybody hit, and unfortunately, just didn't go well for him at least for the quarterback spot. Of course, Higgins coming back from injury he was a little slow to get acclimated. I mean, Burrow throws for 3 touchdown passes, and for Arby's sake, he's thinking, okay, I want T Higgins to get something there. He does not get any touchdowns. Only a pretty tepid performance from him. And then just to highlight his keeper, Sam Laporta. I mean, just very very disappointing starts this season for him, which is shocking. I mean, the offensive coordinator, you have to get him involved, get him more targets, get him the ball. Unless he's, I mean, I know he had the ankle injury, so maybe that has something to do with it. But like, just you got as their offense, they should get him more involved. You have Amon Ra, but try to get him the ball. That's another thing too. Like just trying. I mean, it might work out, it might not. Sometimes when you're relying on 2 skilled position players from the same team and they're both
Yep.
pass catchers, it might be tough to get those every week. Like you're not going to get 20 and 20. And the talent is there. Amon Ra and Laporta, the talent is 100% there. They can it can easily get to 20 points, or even 30. I mean, Amon Ra is a fucking beast, but like at the same time, it's just a disappointing start to the season for him. But a lot of tight ends, of course, we'll highlight. I mean, as we go through other matchups, that like they're just the high profile guys are just not quite cutting it right now. But on the other side, like yeah, Ferguson for him has been great. Ferguson's been a great tight end. So just unfortunate to get a couple guys that are just scoring below their projections, and like guys like Hurts, Laporta, and Higgins. So that's unfortunate for Arby's, but he'll bounce back. He's 2-1, so he's looking pretty good.
Yep. Yeah. I think Walker. I mean, we'll get to the week 4 matchups, but I mean, Walker's coming back, even though Charbonnet has been great, like you said in the fill-in. Cooper Kupp's out for him as well, so I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think Arby's that's his first loss of the season. Got a solid team, and let's highlight the waiver wire pickup of last week, Carson Steele. Yeah, I mean, he looked okay, but he's plugging him in now for probably temporarily, temporarily purposes, just in terms of cup being out. So interesting. He's going to see how long that goes out for. But yeah, I think Arby's has a solid team, and Andy's still Andy. He's always going to compete and be a top contending team
Hmm.
every year. But we'll see. He's got to keep it up and stay healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go into almost the highest total. Second place for Tiburon here, but he blows it out of the water, absolutely annihilates Snai, unfortunately. Um,
Very tragic.
big win for Tiburon. Got points everywhere. Obviously, it's been, I think, more of a running back driven start to fantasy, just with throwing being down and not necessarily a ton of top talent receiver wise. Maybe not necessarily as much, or those early draft picks getting going. I mean, we mentioned Tyreek. CD, we'll get to him a little bit for week 4, but slow start as well. And not just it seems like the consistency is more at the running back position, at least for the top guys. So um Ryan has two of them. Saquon Barkley is the number one
Wow.
running back in the league, and I think Derrick Henry is in the top 5 or 6 in terms of a points per game basis. So gets 63 out of those guys. Dak obviously some garbage time points against Baltimore, but they all matter in fantasy. So you
Mhm.
get a 99 or 96 point total, something like that, out of those 3 guys. Um, yeah, that's pretty much game over for most guys. Godwin's been awesome. Um,
Mhm.
top receiver in the league right now. I think top 2 maybe or 3.
Mhm.
We'll go back to this again. Yeah, 3.
Wow.
So he's been amazing. Going back into the slot in that offense has been a huge blessing for him. He's getting a ton of work. Scored every game, 8, 9 in target shares. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, that's a hit, especially with Ayuk being kind of down for him. So, and Andrews, oof. I mean, he played like 20% of the snaps in that Dallas game. I'm not even sure what's going on. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know. I mean, obviously they're more run focused. They only threw the ball 15 times that game, but yeah, I mean, it's tough sledding really because he doesn't really have another outlet if Mark Andrews is somehow phased out or just like not, you know, a reliable option. I mean, tight end has been pretty bare, as you mentioned, but um, yeah, that sucks. It just I don't know. You couldn't predict that. I mean, he's hasn't done anything in 3 games. I mean,
Yeah,
those are some
it's very,
bad numbers.
yeah, very
But
shocking.
he's got a top team, I think, talent wise, Ryan. So that's a big win for him to get off the 0-2 start. We kind of mentioned it last week that roster wise, he looked like the best out of the guys that were winless.
Yeah.
Just based off those 2 running backs and Godwin, obviously. I mean, he's got, you know, 2 or we'll say 3 guys in the top 5 of their positional rankings right now.
Yeah,
So
that helps.
can't hurt. So yeah, good. I'm sure he's happy to see it. I know he was sharing a ton of text during Sunday, which God, it sucks. I mean, he's a champion. He's making it known. But definitely heard a lot less from him. I mean, one, he was in another country, but also two, he wasn't at the top of the table with the trophy. So good on him though to keep rubbing it in our face. I would expect nothing less as the champ. So, but good take it away with Snyder. I mean, some good takeaways for sure on his team. I mean, just a little disappointing in a couple guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, the main thing we're going to highlight once again, going to another quarterback, Anthony Richardson, this keeper, someone that he's very high on. I mean, we all know, and rightfully so. I mean, I would have thought the same thing going into the season. I mean, he starts off with 30 points, week 1, and against a tough Houston team, they only lose by 2. His stats, that's the type of thing. Okay, we're expecting. I mean, a guy that's going to run, that's going to throw, and he definitely has the ability to do it, to rush. But like as we've seen though the last 2 weeks against Green Bay, you're thinking, okay, they got Malik Willis there, even though they're playing at Green Bay. We're Green Bay fans. I personally don't think their defense was that great going into the season, and I never believe in their defense. And they pick him off 3 times, and they shut him down. He's 17 for 34. And then last week against Chicago, a team that pretty bad. I mean, probably the worst team in that division, NFC North. only 5 fantasy points. I mean, just very bizarre. And they win the game. I mean, that's the crazy part. They win the game,
Yeah,
but for the Colts, it's great. But for fantasy managers and of course for Train, he's obviously, pretty pissed off about that, I'm sure. So it's like, then you're like, okay, maybe I can withstand it with Malik Neighbors, who is a complete beast. I mean, and I
monster.
thought Danny Jones was going to hinder this guy, and I was wrong. I mean, most people would have thought that Danny Jones wasn't gonna evaluate about elevate him to like high stature, whatever. But like he was just been a monster. I mean, we obviously saw it last Thursday night too. But 28 points, you got a great production from him. But unfortunately, you know, you cannot get five points from a quarterback, and then you're going against you're going against 30 points from Derrick Henry, 33 from Saquon, and it's tough. I mean, it really is. And then like he was starting two Houston guys. I mean, he makes the trade for Tank Dell, and
Yep, we'll get to
um,
that.
yeah, so it's like, you have two receivers, and I know he's trying to look for a running back, you know what I mean? Because he had to plug in Tajay Spears, who gets him 10, a healthy 10 points, which, you know, you'll take it. You're not expecting 30 points from Tajay Spears. I mean, no, he's in a timeshare, and he gets a couple catches, which gives him more points. But yeah, it's just tough. He was thinking Mostert would have given him something. I mean, Mostert's
Mm,
always gets banged up every year. He always gets banged up, and Achan is definitely the number one. I think I mean he should be their number one guy, and and Jacobs. I've been as a Packer fan too. Every time that game he got like a 5 yard run, it was a flag. So like that could have been potentially more than 5 points, but it wouldn't have made too much of a difference because he wasn't scoring touchdowns. So disappointing number from Snai. Obviously only getting 94 points, but it's going against almost the top point getter this week. So it's very very difficult. It also sucks to lose to a team that scores zero. A guy scores zero, but he still finds a way to score 145. That's very frustrating. But you know, next week, another week next week for Snyder. Go back to 2-2 and get to 500.
yeah, I mean, you kind of highlighted all of it. I mean, I think he's got some good pieces. Obviously, AJ Brown out right now for him as well. And then, I mean, Jets
Yeah.
are a top team, a top defense, I should say, in terms of scoring. Hunter Henry is the only thing I'll highlight. I mean, I know he bid on him, the week prior, I should say, and just comes back down to earth against the Jets on Thursday night. I mean, that offense looks pretty pitiful. Jets D again, good defense, but still, kind of rough sledding. But yeah, Richardson's going to be the make or break for him, I think, as well. He's got Geno. I think you kind of talked about maybe him playing obviously this week for him. I think he's in his lineup, but we'll get to that.
Mhm.
But yeah, Richardson's been certainly disappointing.
Yeah, it sucks.
Um,
Like he's banking on him to like obviously do big things as a keeper. I mean, you want him to do good, and like now he's like forced to start another guy like already week 4. Kind of sucks, But gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to Riggs. Blows up again here at 131. Puts Phil down to 0-3, and you know keeps himself at 3-0. I mean, I think we kind of talked about it. I mean, I think just take Steve's point right now. I mean, he's got a good team. Josh Allen is an animal. He had
No
four
doubt.
touchdowns in the first half of that game. Game was over at halftime. He looks as good as he's ever, and I guess I might have maybe I don't know, slid him down a little bit in the rankings. I mean, I never personally draft quarterbacks early, but kind of losing Stephon Diggs, losing some, Gabe Davis, kind of a new offense. You weren't really necessarily sure, or new offensive weapons, I should say. You weren't really sure what Josh Allen was capable of, but in the first three games, and they haven't played too hard of a schedule, I'll say yet. I mean, Baltimore this week should be a great game, but um, he looks great. I mean, he's the number one quarterback in fantasy right now. And then just kind of moving down the list. I mean, Harrison had a hell of a game week 2 and followed it up here against the Lions. He looks great. I wasn't again not someone that wants to draft a rookie receiver that early, but it's starting to look like it's he was worth it for sure. And that
Mhm.
offense, Arizona's offense looks really good.
Yeah.
Very just kind of a fun offense to watch. I mean, they're throwing. James Conner's been steady. I mean, they're going to score points. So I mean, I think that ends up looking like a really good pick at least through the first 3 weeks. After week 1, you want to throw egg at him.
Mhm.
That goose egg. But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
he's really woken up since then. Gibbs, as you mentioned, like a lot of weapons in Detroit, but He's been really, really solid, even though he's considered maybe the RB2 in terms of just rushing,
Mm.
or rushing work, I will say. I mean, Montgomery's still getting pretty much same snaps or same attempts, I should say, maybe slightly up. But
Mm.
they're obviously throwing the ball to Gibbs. He looks great. And, Kyren Williams, I mean, we kind of touched on him last week thinking that it was like, hey, Kyren Williams, maybe with all the injuries in LA, offensive line's hurt, receivers are hurt. They're just going to focus in on him. There was a 31 and 3 touchdowns against the Niners in a win.
Mm.
It's pretty impressive. So yeah, I mean, I think Steve has a really, really good team. He stays at 3-0, and he's got a pretty deep bench. Jaden Reed, Kittle was out.
Mm.
Braylon Allen looks like the most, I would say, the best handcuff in terms of running backs. If something does happen to Breece Hall, he looks electric, and he has arguably the number one receiver in Buffalo with Josh Allen, Shakir. So
Mm.
sitting pretty 3-0, and I think Steve's got a contending team. I hate to say it, I hate Steve, but he's got a good team. What about Phil? What do you think? Unfortunately, Phil throws up I think, made probably a season high for him, and unfortunately takes a no.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, frustrating for him, I'm sure. Because like how it was going in the 1 o'clocks, you were thinking, all right, it looks like
Yeah,
Phil's going to win this game. You know what I mean? And, you don't want to concede yet, but like I mean, it's tough to as another opposing manager, like oh wow, Green Bay gets 26 points, 26 points. That's his highest point getter. I mean, that was the top point getter on his team, and like Aaron Jones was right there with 25.8.
he's been
And
great.
then Olave has a great game with 20. So like you're thinking, you're sitting pretty, but and once again, I hate to just beating a dead horse here, but 9.9 points from Derek Carr. He gets under 10, and as you see, another manager with less than that single digit point total from a quarterback has been getting them the big fat L. So like Derek Carr, I mean, he's not. They at that point they were playing great. You're feeling good about them, but like as far as like being my fantasy quarterback to play, I wouldn't go with him specifically. But I mean, it's tough not to. He was doing pretty well. But like it's just like he kind of let Phil down there with only 9, and it's like you get your position players putting up some high numbers, and you just couldn't do nothing about it. And like once again, like you know Cincinnati gets -1 points, and it's like, and you still lost. It's just like nothing frustrates me more when someone else gets a 0 or a negative in his case. And like, I don't think I mean, maybe I've won in the past, but like, it's been tough for me to win a game like that. So it's kind of frustrating to see Phil. I'm sure Phil's frustrated to get that loss there. But at the same time, like, you just got to try to bounce back with, try to get his first win next week. But like, yeah, just unfortunately, Miami, we talked about this with Tyreek Hill. Now it's like, how long Tua's out for, unless like Huntley's going to be less revelation. He wasn't that bad when he's in Baltimore, but is I just feel like Miami's skill position players, besides Achane maybe, are just kind of like are going to take a significant hit. So it kind of sucks for him that like Waddle only gets these 6 there, and second RB spot is Pollard. He gets 5. I mean, he's got Scary Terry on the bench, and he had 20. So it's like,
Yeah,
it's like, where do you plug him in though? I guess you could take out Waddle and put Terry in for now until like Miami situation gets sorted out. I mean, Olave is banged up. I mean, as far as on this recording, I don't know if he's still he's questionable, so he might
yeah.
not play. So I guess we'll go into that when we do the week 4 preview. But yeah, tough break for Phil. How it started, but like how it ended was not the way he wanted to do. But Josh Allen, he ran into Josh Allen and Kieran Williams. Unfortunately, Josh Allen with a great Monday night performance, and Kyren Williams, who runs all pretty much all over San Francisco, which is shocking too, because the Niners did not expect the Niners to lose that game. So unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, good win. Tough break for Phil, but like you mentioned, I think his running backs were really good. And then with that Waddle situation, I mean, you got to play Terry at this point. I mean, there's no reason not to. He's the number one with a quarterback that looks like he's kind of on the rise with Jaden Daniels. So, and he just dropped Derek Carr for Justin Fields. So we will see. Quarterback carousel begins with some of these teams.
Oh yeah.
Where are we at here? Oh, the highest matchup
Oh,
before we get to ours.
big game. Mm.
Big drama. This was my only loss in my predictions for week 3. I will say.
Nice.
got a lot of shit from Logan about voting against him, but he unfortunately took a very slim last minute loss.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he is kind of right. I do usually vote against him and he wins, so kind of got one there on him. But yeah, I mean the Gooses take the highest point total on Monday night as well. Jamar Chase throws up a 30 spot. He's back. Probably good to see
Oh
from the
yeah.
Gooses. Kind of scary
Mhm.
situation with the contract holdout or whatever was going on for your keeper. So,
Mhm.
he gets him back with a nice little 30 spot late. And we kind of talk about it. We credited him on Thursday about the some of the moves he was questioning the week prior with if he was going to play Jennings. He does. No one projected a 46 point spot from Juwan Jennings, but what a time to get a guy and plug him in, right? I mean, what a nice little
Wow.
near 50 spot from a guy you just picked up off of waivers. Can't hate it. But yeah, I mean, those are really kind of everyone else kind of a normal outing. I would say Mahomes has been a little bit down, just to start the year, and then Garrett Wilson, same thing. I think just in terms of where he picked Garrett Wilson or where he was getting drafted at most drafts. He does score, gets 14, but he's been definitely a slow start on that side of things. But big win for Aaron. Tough win or tough loss for Rick. Damn, Rick just can't, 136, definitely probably his highest point total as well this year. And um, yeah, that sucks. You're down. It
Yeah.
takes a hard L to make him, 0-3. Yeah, you can kind of run down. We were kind of watching some of the 1 o'clocks with with these guys scoring, and I thought Rick looked pretty good to start.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're thinking it's going pretty well. I mean, DJ Moore gets him 15, and obviously Coop, with
Cooper,
27 points from him. It's like, okay, Taylor with 26. I mean, same thing. Like this is what an amazing start. But unfortunately, just he runs into a buzzsaw with 46 points from Jennings. I mean, no one expected that. I mean, it was a good play because I mean, I would have done this, same thing. Ayuk is still there, but I mean, play him, plug him in, see what you can get. I mean, in a really benefited him in a huge way. I mean, that's pretty much the main reason why he won this matchup. 46 is, it's
for
tough to
sure.
come back from that. Someone scores 46, almost 50 points. But unfortunately, just nothing really. You can't like fault anything that Rick did. Rick, played a great lineup. He puts up 136, and unfortunately, just doesn't come up with a victory. But I mean, nothing to really be ashamed about. Unfortunately, the only thing I would say is that Kelsey, of course, has not been, himself. I mean, we're talking about this with Andrews and Laporta. But I mean, my opinion of Kelsey is like, unfortunately, he's probably on the decline. I mean, he's getting older, and I know tight ends. There's been plenty of tight ends that have been, his age that have still excelled in this league. But I just feel like he's on the decline. But maybe he makes me eat my words and has a great rest of the season. But unfortunately, just not going really well for him. And unfortunately, Rick's 0-3. But at the same time, like, yeah, great for Aaron to like pick up Jennings and even Strange. It's just Strange World. He puts up 9 points with a touchdown. No one expected that. Oh
Yeah.
man, like this is a strange world out there. But yeah, he just we were joking about that too. About like I picked up. He had Dalton. I think he had Dalton Schultz. Yeah, he actually dropped Dalton Schultz for Jennings, and he's just like, yeah, it's. I pick up Schultz, and I was like, oh, that's the reason I told him that the reason I didn't pick up Strange is because of his last name. I didn't want him like the league to make fun of me. Like who's Finkel's picking up Strange? Who the hell's that? And like he ends up fucking scoring 9 points and outperforming Schultz anyway. So like yeah, so good big win for the Goose and has a lot to look forward to for the next week as well. So good stuff.
Yeah, big win, big matchup. Crazy ending to this one. Yeah, Rick's kind of probably sweating a little bit. I mean, we'll kind of get over transactions, we'll say, after we kind of just round out here with just our matchup. I mean, nothing nothing pretty on your side. Let you go over that. But I steal one. Thankfully, my team actually got to 91 points. It looked pretty bleak for a little bit that before that Buffalo game. What was really going to be my point total towards the end of this week. I thought I was still going to win, obviously, because of your total, but
Yeah.
tough. My quarterback gets 10, and luckily I survived just based off of how shitty of a performance, unfortunately, your team put out. But I'll just run down mine. I mean, not much to highlight. Justin Jefferson is the man. He is
Oh
the real deal. I hope he has a shit game this week because I am still a Packers fan at heart first. But yeah, he's been awesome. Didn't really know, with the Sam Darnold situation, was definitely hesitant a little bit at that early, draft spot, at least from my state, my takeaway, I should say. And I probably wouldn't have been too upset with St. Brown, who was also there, but Jefferson has been the real deal. And he's a stud. I need him. And I'll say the next guy up for Green Bowl is definitely James Cook. Kind of
yes.
took him just based off of just who I had as best available. I didn't necessarily think I was going to get what I'm getting so far early on from him, which I need
Mhm.
with the Pacheco injury. I need a stud there. And he's been great. He's getting a lot of goal line work. Gets another rushing touchdown, which he's far exceeded his first couple years with three compared to the previous years of two each. So nice to see that he's getting goal line work, and that offense has looked really good. So and Drake London's been really coming to life in the last couple games, getting some targets, regardless of just kind of shaky quarterback play. I don't think Kirk Cousins looks very good overall,
Mhm.
but it's nice to have Drake London there. Just kind of as in like a number two or even as a flex option. I mean, between him and Flowers, depending on matchups, but and it was nice to see, even on a break and play, Kincaid getting in there. I did draft him slightly higher than I normally do with tight ends, but with a tight end bugaboo that's been going around the league, hopefully he kind of starts becoming a little steadier as an option with that tight end position. But didn't need a whole lot. Tough start from you on Thursday night with Stevenson, and I'll let you take it. Let you take it away from there.
Whew, boy, where could I begin? I mean, this might be a continuation of the "This is fine" segment that you like to do. This is fine. This is not fine. This is terrible. This is probably the worst start that I could imagine. And I'm going to get a lot of tangents here, so strap in and brace yourself. There's nothing to really. Well, there's a lot to say, but I mean, to start the season, losing Christian McCaffrey and Puka Nakua, my top two draft picks is the worst thing that you can probably go through. And then just like the other injuries to Njoku and throughout the season, you're going to pick up injuries. I get it, but like the week one, we already have these injuries. I mean, come on now, man. I'm the guy touting McCaffrey and into my other league, and this one is like as he's the best player in fantasy, right? And I don't think that takes away the injury doesn't take that away from him. If he's back on the field, I still think he's the number one guy. But like, it's just like so frustrating when you have to deal with like an injury question mark before, and it's like you don't want to take the risk because he's such a great player, and like but like if we would have known that maybe the injury was a little bit worse for the wear, I don't think I would have maybe kept him. But of course, I mean, like it's like you're like, okay, is he going to be out? Is he? But like there was no indication that he wasn't going to be ready for week one. So I'm in Italy. We're obviously you and I are in Italy. We're ready to go. I'm ready for week one, even though there's a 6 hour time difference, and like I get the notification because like Italy, it's I think the game started in Italy at like two
2 a.m.
twenty a.m.
Yep.
So I'm gonna try to stay up. We stayed up for the Packers Eagles game, and it's like we see the thing. It's like I get the notification McCaffrey's not playing. Like, but I get it. Like, kind of. I wasn't gonna stay up for that game. So like, okay, he's gonna be out, and then the news gets worse and worse. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to take a fucking zero then because like there's no other option. And I go Jordan
Yep.
Mason's obviously Nils got him, but like in fairness to me, it's like I thought Elijah Mitchell like was gonna be the number two. So then like he gets hurt when he was placed in IR, like literally the next day, Nils picks up Mason, and I'm probably
Yep.
at work, so like whatever, like luck of the draw. Unfortunately, he gets him, I don't. But like I'm not thinking that McCaffrey's gonna be out for this long. So it's
Sure.
just like insanity that he's out for this long. And then Puka gets the injury during the game, he's out. So like week one, I'm not saying I was going to win week one, but like you had two injuries like during the actual game. Like Njoku could have
Yeah.
got more points, Puka could have got more points. Unfortunately, not. So I'm 0-1, 0-2, and then like the news just gets worse and worse. So it's like I only have a spot for one guy in the IR. Unfortunately, it's Puka's there. Not knowing with McCaffrey, hopefully you're hoping for the best. Now, as far as this matchup goes, I mean, we can go in. I can go on and on and on about that. Unfortunately, injuries are what it is. I gotta just make do with what I got. Now, good thing I think I drafted well in the sense that if I had McCaffrey and Puka in my lineup, with Devontae Smith and Ramondre was playing good, Singletary's playing good. I think I have a pretty and Ridley as well. But this week, insane that like a guy like Shaheed, who's going off for 2 weeks in a row, puts up a goose egg. I'm trying to keep it PG. I'm trying not to blow some F bombs here, but like it's not even funny how frustrating that is to get a zero from Rand. It didn't start good on Thursday with Stevenson. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, 13 is a reasonable projection. 0.3 right away. I'm like, oh, that's a great start. But I mean, not the end of the world. It's not over
Yeah.
yet. And then Ridley only gets one catch. Like, are you kidding me? Like they give the ball to like the corpse of DeAndre Hopkins. So DeAndre Hopkins is like he's getting to the point where like he's not like a fantasy relevant anymore. He gets a bunch of catches. They'll throw him passes with like no name guys. It's like I'll have a Packer fan, but that's frustrating as hell. Then Devontae Smith gets knocked out in concussion, and then like Stevenson of course with the zero. So it's just like how much more things could go wrong for one guy in a week. And then for some sick reason, I thought I still had a chance. I'm like winning for some reason because you're not putting up any points for
No,
hey,
I'm dead.
you actually have a great play I thought with the Vegas Raiders, and the Vegas Raiders get freaking torched.
Spanked.
They
I
get like
know.
36 points. I thought it was a great play. I played them in the Pinos League. -1 points, like it's insanity. And I'm like, all right, maybe I have a chance. So like, even though in some stupid way, I'm like, all right, Kincaid hasn't been used a lot. Drake London, maybe he has two catches. Maybe he pulls a 0 or 1 like I got. No, of course not. Drake London's like puts a
Both
puts
go
a
off.
damper on my hopes. So 64 points is not the way it's going. Complete 180 from how I was feeling last year. I was feeling great. I was thinking, okay, I went on a run. I think I won like 5, 6 in a row for the playoffs. Of course, we all know what happened there. So, like, unfortunately, it's not the way I wanted my season to start. And I really only feel good about, well, I was feeling good about Devontae Smith until he got his concussion. So, like, really not a lot to feel good about it with my team. And unfortunately, it's not manager ineptitude. It's just the fact that like the injuries are really kicking my ass right now. So that's my tangent. Congrats on the win. I'm on 0-3, but looking forward to my first win of the 2024 fantasy season. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone, there's no excuses. Obviously, it is what it is. I mean, you're 0-3. Your team is decimated. And unfortunately, the injuries to your two top guys are long-standing ones. They're not just the 4-week ones. So, I mean, obviously, Puka will be a big one to get some, hopefully, his 2023 season is what you see when he comes back. Cup's hurt as well. So we'll see. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a little bit longer, maybe week 7 for him. And then McCaffrey, man, yeah, I feel for you because again, a lot of the news that's coming out seems like it's a long-standing thing, and I don't know if it was something like that in the summertime that they kept hush hush like they did with week 1, or like I said, it just progressively gotten worse for him, and they just unfortunately had to make the call and say, hey, let's unfortunately get out of this. But yeah, we'll see. The only thing I want to add in before we kind of just touch quickly on transactions for this week before week 4 is that I had a little bit of a tidbit of information that I was going to share before we got cut off from the first pod or first app. So I do want to say that easily the most storied rivalry in other league, maybe history, is what's really cooking right now between the Arby's and Shit Blizzard franchises. These guys, I mean, it's been mental warfare going back to draft night. I mean, Rick throws the Green brothers into a taxi or an Uber, sends them on their way to what they think is just a simple ride to Allentown, but that was far from it and far from where they were going. They could have been halfway to Philly before we called them or Rick called them, and they still wouldn't have known where they were. So, but hilarious tidbit for the league history, we'll say, or draft day history. But they go back and are sending each other Uber Eats orders of Arby's meals and Blizzards from Sonic or wherever the hell they're sending them. So I'm not sure what their Uber Eats bills are when they play each other, but I gotta imagine they're stocking them up. But went back to 2011. This is the stat. So that's when we first went to 12 man. So I think that's kind of the standard for us to kind of look in terms of record books. Arby's and Ship Blizzard, Rick and Ben played each other 16 times. including the week 2 matchup, which Arby's won. They are 8-8, so it is a completely 500 wash right now in the rivalry, like Packers Bears. But they will play each other in week 13 this year. This is all just regular season. I didn't go through playoffs or anything like that. But so they will be there will be a tiebreaker at the end of the season, and it could have some playoff implications as well. So wanted to throw that in there on this pod just because we unfortunately got cut off on the last one. But let's go into transactions because there's a couple that we have to highlight just for the sake of highlighting them. And there's a few that you're gonna know which ones we're talking about, Ian.
Oh, for sure.
Let's
I mean,
start. Let's start with a big one. And Steve's team's great, and Minnesota's D has been fantasy number one, but $50 on Minnesota. What's your takeaway on that? I mean, good, bad, indifferent. I mean, I guess he has a full team, so he wanted to put some coin on the line.
I mean, yeah, my first reaction was, wow, like what the hell are you thinking? $50? Like what the no, it's I mean, he said it in the chat. I mean, I'm assuming it was because you were inebriated or feeling a little good there, but I don't know why you spent $50, but and I know the defense, Dallas's defense has been kind of shitty recently. I mean, they did, yeah, they kind of got a little bit better this week against the Giants, but yeah, $50. I don't think anybody. I mean, I mean, you can check and see like who else made a bid for Minnesota's defense, but like, I don't think that anybody was spending more than five. I mean, I would hope not. You know what I mean? And plus, like, they're playing Green Bay, so I don't think they're going to shut down Green Bay. They're playing great. Don't get me wrong, but Green Bay at home, Jordan Love's back, and we'll see how good he is. Did anybody even bid for Minnesota? Oh, they did.
Yeah, a
Come on,
couple
20,
did. Tiburon with
26.
26.
Damn,
Wild.
Rye. I wouldn't. I mean, I just don't think that's. I mean, if you get him, great. I mean, you might not even need to use Fab for the rest of the season. Maybe if your team's continually doing well and staying injury free. But yeah, very very surprising $50. But hey, I mean, he's 3-0. I can't really knock him. You know what I mean? Because of the record. But yeah, $50 is very interesting choice. But I don't think they're gonna have a great. I mean, I'm hoping like Green Bay lights them up. So I
I
mean,
was just gonna say
nothing.
that.
But
They're on the road. They've been good at home. I will say that they've had a couple home games where they certainly played pretty well. Not to say that that defense isn't playing good and are definitely well coached with Flores. And again, I think we go back to the depth that we mentioned with Steve. I think Steve's got a good bench. So I think to your point, I would like to know how many cocktails made him go to $50. We should ask him that.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
26 still would have been a little bit crazy, but not that as crazy as 50, which is half the fab you get to start the year. But more to come, I guess. If they are the highest scoring or they continue to be the highest scoring defense, this team is pretty well rounded. So we'll see. Cole Kmet, just a question mark again. I know you're part of that bid in there, but
Yeah.
um, you only can play one, I think. I mean, you can play one in flex, I guess, Phil, but
Yeah.
Cole Kmet is an interesting pickup considering Dallas Goedert just came off the best game and he has two of his receivers not playing this week. And I mean, I'm not high on him, but Kyle Pitts is still the guy that he seems to be starting every week. So
Yeah.
not sure where he has the room for Cole Kmet or why he spent $13 on him, but would love to see the reasoning when you submit these fabs. Just
Yeah,
for
sure.
curiosity purposes. Again, Roshan bastards continue to just plug and play random running backs, and hopefully one sticks. I think I'm going to keep going up here just because this ended up being something that I kind of got away with because
Yeah.
going into week 4 matchups we're about to start,
Mm.
Andy does pick up Wandell, who's been awesome. He would have put up 18
Yeah.
for him, and
Oh yeah,
he
definitely.
is going to hope that Deebo Samuel plays. He has a
Yeah.
couple other options, but still. Let's go into my matchup. Let's just do
Yep.
some predictions here real quick. We kind of highlighted everything else, and let's run through it here. I mean, we're gonna be recording this obviously on a Saturday night, but so we have some Thursday night kind of point totals to look at, and maybe some clarity with some guys with question tags and stuff like that. So um, Andy gets a good performance, like I mentioned last week with him. Ferguson, good start. I I liked Ferguson. I think he's a pretty nice, a steady piece in Dallas's offense. And Dak throws, so I think
Yeah.
good to see that probably from him in terms of consistency standpoint. I mean, he hasn't had Ingram pretty much all year, and Jacksonville looks like a train wreck. So I'm sure he's
Yeah.
happy to see Ferguson perform. Kind of tough news in the sense that, I mean, he picked up Jacoby because Devontae somehow is not playing this week. Um,
Yeah.
I know he picked up like a late injury, or I mean, I don't know if that was from last Sunday or not, but
Yeah. Probably
um,
practice. Practice.
yeah, I don't know. That all, God, man, the Raiders had a huge win against Baltimore. Now they just look like they're a train wreck team again from last week. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, he gets to plug and play Jacoby Myers, and Rashee Rice has been great. He's playing Daniels this week, which I thought was, he made that switch, and then like I just mentioned, he's got Debo down there as a hopeful. He did practice, so I think he might play. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
True.
yeah, who do you like? I mean, I my matchups are kind of what it is. I don't think I have any changes going in. The only thing I'm going to wait till about 1 o'clock to tomorrow is if I really feel like a homer and plug in Jordan Love back in.
Yeah, it might not be a bad choice. I mean, you want to see, of course, you're like a couple weeks being in the injury report, so like injury list, you're out. So it's like coming back from that injury, see exactly how he'll play. You're hoping for the best. I mean, it looks like he's moving on the video that you show. I mean, they show on Twitter. I'm like, okay, it looks like he's moving pretty well. Remains to be seen. I mean, I don't think. I mean, you can go wrong either way. I mean, I know Baker had a really bad performance last week. I mean, really, I was obviously in a tangent with my team, but I didn't really fail to mention that, like, Baker Mayfield really didn't give you
And
much quarterback spot. So,
yeah,
like, obviously we were able to withstand that. Um, so yeah, it's just it remains to be seen. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong either way. I mean, in this matchup here, I mean, it's definitely a plus that Devontae isn't playing. I mean, I know he's got Jacoby Myers in there, but I mean, you can't really expect the same production, even though I think Jacoby Myers is a pretty good player. I mean, he's got, a couple injuries, of course. Evan Ingram's out too. So, like, I don't see he can't really plug anybody in at this point. This is probably the lineup that he
no,
has to play. So, I hope
yep.
he's got to hope that Debo plays. And, um,
What do you
yeah, I
got?
mean, my heart says you, obviously, but,
Appreciate that.
yeah, I mean, I'm
I'm
gonna,
I'm
I'm
picking
gonna
I'm
go with
picking Dre.
I'm going with the
Wow,
heart. I'm going with my heart, baby.
I
I'm gonna
appreciate that fact.
I'll go with
I
Green
got.
Bowl.
I'm going to pick against myself. But I
Oh,
think to your point though, and Snyder picked Dre as well. I do think that quarterback play for me is probably not going to matter. But to your point, just looking at who he could play because he missed out on Wendell. Um, I mean, he might have to go back to Kareem Hunt if Debo Samuel
wow.
doesn't play, or
That's
somebody off the waiver, I guess. But I
yeah.
mean,
I
just
would
looking
suggest
at
a
his,
waiver guy.
yeah, I mean, he definitely could, but that might change, kind of some of the outlook, just in terms of points total. But I still like Dre, man. He's a top dog. It's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a big week for me to beat him, but I like the confidence. I appreciate
Oh, no
it.
problem.
Let's go to the Bastards and Ship Blizzard.
Hmm.
Mr. Rick looking to get off the 0-3 start. Gets a little bit of the early, very slight projection total.
Yeah.
In terms of the where he's at, the favorite. Let me stare this down a little bit here. I mean, I think that Sunday night matchup's going to be awesome. I mean,
Yeah. Oh
I don't know.
man.
Buffalo's defenses look good, so I don't. I mean, who knows? I mean, I if they get up Baltimore and jump on them, they're definitely not going to be throwing the ball. You know what I mean? So that definitely hinders, I think, those Lamar Jackson larger, point totals where he throws for a couple, runs for a couple. Um, we just haven't really seen that from Lamar Jackson too much this year. I mean,
Hmm.
last week was solid. He got in the end zone with his feet. I mean, 27, he had a pretty nice first week. Oh, 16
Yeah.
rushes, 122. So,
Yeah. That's
yeah, I just
good.
think like 27 solid. I just don't know against Buffalo at home if we see that. I think that's going to be, I don't know. I anticipate that to be kind of like a more of a rushing game for Henry maybe, and maybe Lamar gets off. I don't know. I just think that's gonna be a really good game overall. I will say, kind of looking at matchups here. That I mean, I like Rick's team. I think
Yeah.
Kelsey. I think this is the week that he kind of maybe has to kind of get going a little bit. I mean, the Chargers are decimated with injuries as well, so I guess he has to play. I mean, Darnell Mooney's been solid. I was just gonna say Tank Dell's out, 17 and 14. Like, that's not a bad guy to lean on.
Surprising because he last couple of seasons in Chicago he wasn't that great. So that's really surprising there.
Yeah, who do you like here? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, like it's weird. Rick, despite being 0-3, I think he has out of all the 0-3 teams, he has the most talent on his roster at the moment. But I think without the injuries, like my team is stacks up pretty well against them too, or the other guys in the league. But like, I can't really
Sure,
deny like he's 0-3 right now, but he could easily not be 0-3 just based on his team. So I mean,
yeah,
fortunately, that besides Mooney, I mean Mooney's having 17 and 14, he's doing pretty well. I mean, I think that's his weakest position player. Um,
hmm
but like, I mean, just because like I'm not so confident in my team winning this week. I just gonna go vote. I want to root for Logan to win. That way,
I
Rick stays on 4. So
don't blame you.
I'm still like just because I'm treading water right now until I get these guys back. Hopefully at some point. But like I'm just gonna go with Logan because I feel like with Devontae being out, maybe just feed Brock Bowers the ball. I mean, just give him the rock. I mean, I
I'm
think
sure you
he's
will.
very talented tight end. I mean, I'm not expecting much from Madison. So like he's starting 2 Raiders. I mean, like their quarterback spots, they're pretty weak too, the Raiders. But I mean, hopefully he just feeds Brock Bowers the ball. I mean, he can't really. I mean, he's got
That's
to hope
it.
that I know you don't want Swift to like not have a role, but like he's got to hope that Swift like it's like less and less and like because they're talking about Roshan being like the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe. I mean, but like, that offensive line sucks, so I don't think like it's gonna make too much of a difference. But maybe I'm wrong. But like I'm just gonna go with Logan, just a simple fact that like want to see another 0-3 team lose. But like Logan's got a very good team. But it'll be the projections. I'm gonna say a little higher. I got it like 120 to 117. I mean, it's gonna be close. I feel like, but like,
Yeah.
I just feel like, I'm just gonna pick Logan just because I want to see that result probably from my in my favor for the other teams.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with Ship Blizzard. I just think he gets off the wagon finally. He's got, like I said, Taylor and Montgomery really good starts. Just like his lineup a little bit more, and Darnell Mooney's been solid. I kind of look at that a little bit more closely to like his weakest player basically compared to Madison. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be a big difference in the matchups there. But
Mhm.
I got Ship Blizzard, and I think Sny had Ship Blizzard as well. So tight one, though, I
Mhm.
agree.
Yeah.
Beav and Riggs, this is going to be a great matchup. It's already started pretty awesome with CeeDee Lamb finally coming to life on Thursday night. Kind of probably the CeeDee Lamb that Nils and most of us expected from what he did last year. He was a monster, and he kind of sat out camp with this whole contract thing. So him, Chase, I think some of these guys are starting a little slower, and the receiver room, like I just mentioned earlier in the pod, has just not been crazy stacked, I would say, in terms of consistency of guys, outside
Mhm.
of a few, in terms of just big names. So
Yeah.
good to see probably Lamb for his sake point, going off for 23. Um, yeah, two really good teams here. I mean, he's kind of looking at this lineup. So he gets Kittle back for Steve's sake. On Steve's side of things, I should say. He's playing Shakir. Interesting.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, just kind of looking at both teams here. Yeah, I mean, I obviously with a point total, I mean, it didn't change much because, CD was still projected 20, but I'm gonna go with the Beef.
Yeah. Yeah, good, good. Yeah, I mean, you can go either way. This is another coin flip for me as well. I feel like, you can look at both players and like you kind of get into like you look at your projections and it's like kind of maybe sways a vote or like sways the way you think a matchup's gonna go. I mean, it's just like, yeah. One side you got good players on one side, good players on the other. I mean, it's just like a coin flip for me. It's like putting someone on the spot, trying to make a prediction. I mean, I just feel like I'm just gonna go with Steve, just for contrarian sake. I mean, nothing against anybody. Just gonna pick Steve, just because like I feel like I picked against Dre, so someone's got to be undefeated here. So I think Steve stays undefeated of being 4-0, but yeah, he's got a little bit of a question in the sense of like who's is going to be his flex every week. I mean, if
Hmm
Jaden Reed can come back, I mean Jordan Love back. I mean Jaden Reed, I feel like he's not going to score 30, but like every week, but like he's the guy that he has to potentially think about starting in his flex spot because I mean, he's really good. So he's got a couple options to put in there every week. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think Steve has some good depth. I just, like I said, nice start from Nils, and I like kind of his matchups, but I think this is going to be a good one, or at least
Mm,
build to be with the two teams, and I think two teams that are easily playoff bound teams, barring
yeah.
any injuries. I think they have two really, really solid rosters. All right, let's get to you. You're the last matchup before the two brothers matchups that we're
All
going to
right.
get to.
Very nice.
Um,
Semi-final rematch. This is what a far cry from that game, huh? Jesus, teams are
yeah, not
trending
the
different directions.
yeah, Well, I mean, I will say for to Ryan's point, or like, giving him a little cap, obviously, had a great point total last week. Dak kind of just gets his projections. Fortunately, Singletary didn't look awful. I mean, in terms of like just like the Giants offense moving the ball, but unfortunately it was just like, you thought against the Cowboys, like, okay, again, they're just a disappointing Thursday night performance for your running back.
Yeah.
But um yeah, just I felt like the Dallas Cowboys finally like got it together a little bit in terms of just like the run defense and the line. Unfortunately, they lost two guys, so their defense is going to be decimated
Yeah.
going into this week and or the following week and week five, I should say, and maybe six too. But yeah, I mean, tough start. I mean, break it down. Go ahead. It's your matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it just never just not getting off to great starts on Thursday. Thursday's been frustrating for me. I can't say that every year, but I mean, it's just very frustrating. To get, I got four more points than I did last week, last Thursday's matchup. Let's put it. That's we're
Sure.
getting closer and closer to getting better every week. So,
Four point
four
four
figure.
point five.
Okay, to be exact. So yeah, it's very. I mean, I kind of get a little lucky in the sense that Dak didn't have a 30-point game. He only had 20 is reasonable. I mean,
Yeah,
I can't really
sure.
complain too much. Yeah, as far as like my lineup choices go, once again, got to deal with another injury. Devontae Smith is out, so I have to plug in Roma Dunze.
Good
Keenan's
solid.
coming back, so I just hope that maybe in my head, maybe he leapfrogs Keenan Allen in the pecking order. I can only hope because I need some kind of like hope for the future. Because I mean, potential keeper option if he keeps it up, maybe I can keep him. No pun intended.
Sure.
So it's like need to find some kind of spark, and like hopefully I get that from him, and also Chuba Hubbard like as well. Like hopefully he can keep up his consistent play. I mean, obviously, I think Thielen's out, and I know Deontay Johnson was questionable
Correct.
going into this weekend. So maybe they got to rely on the run. But I mean, I just don't. I don't know. I don't know. But as far as like I said, semifinal rematch. I mean, I think my also regret. I wish I like kind of like try to draft some players that I have. I mean, I couldn't get Brees Hall again. I knew that wasn't feasible, but like just running it back with a couple of guys from last year's team because I mean they were going off, but like just didn't do that. And when I was drafted, but I mean, like I said, thought I drafted pretty good team. I mean, Yahoo said I had a great draft, but unfortunately, it didn't account for
Don't
the
take any,
injuries. But
don't take any
but yeah,
value in that.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I just I'm gonna go with Ryan to win this matchup. I just feel like, unfortunately for me, I would love to like get a little payback and win this year's matchup from last year. But I mean, what are you gonna do? I can't really compete with the roster that I have right now without Devontae Smith, without McCaffrey, without Puka, and even Njoku. I mean, Njoku's a top. I think he's definitely a top 10 tight end. Could be inching closer to top five. He was the top five guy last year.
It
So
was great last
just
year. Yeah.
just unfortunately, I'm not. I hope that I can score some points though. I want to make it competitive. I need points, even if I lose. Okay, maybe the other teams lose. The 0-3s lose too, but like just need some points. Just get just something. But like it's just I'm in two leagues and I'm 0-3 in both leagues, and it's just like I need to freaking win a game. So I'm chomping at the bit to get that first victory, but unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wait another week because I think I'm gonna be 0-4.
Yeah, I got Tib. I got Tib too. I just think, I mean, I think you potentially have a decent out here this week.
Mhm.
Just because again, like, looking at the Derrick Henry against Buffalo, Saquon's still projected pretty well. And, he's got a couple guys that are kind of flyer guys. I mean, I love your defense. I think Cleveland against Las Vegas this week should be a good matchup. And to your point, I think Chuba Hubbard again gets fed against a pretty
Mhm.
bad Cincinnati team. And then Tank Dell being injured, I think I'm hoping because I also have some shares with Dalton Schultz that he's a decent flyer at tight end there this week for you. So, yeah, I think you need some of those guys to go off, and then I don't necessarily see who is gonna if you get to the 100 mark, it could be good. Just for the sake of giving off a 64-point week, but. I think Ryan's got too many heavy hitters on the other side that you kind of need to rely that a couple of them, not even just one, kind of have a dud week for you to kind of like win with like 100-point total. So I'm going to take Ryan. But hey, better days ahead, hopefully.
Definitely.
Let's go to the first brother matchup, the Gooses versus Arby's.
The Greens.
The green matchup.
Mhm.
I am, I think I already looked at this. Projections have it pretty lopsided. And I don't look at the projections all the time, but I did look kind of some of the matchups here. Um, just between these two managers, I got to go with Aaron just with the eye test right now. Obviously, Deontay, like you mentioned in his flex, is kind of, a question mark for him. And I think, Garrett Wilson is going to unfortunately get the shadow from Patrick Surtain, who's been amazing to start the year.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
I do love Patrick. I do love Patrick Mahomes this week. I think he's got to get going at some point, and he due for like a 30 pointer at some
yeah,
point in
yeah,
one of these games. And then Jamar Chase against Carolina, he just started cooking. I love that matchup. So and Connor against Washington. So he's got some
hmm
really really juicy matchups this week. Probably why the projections are the way that they are. And then I
hmm
guess he could always throw his boy Jawan Jennings in if Debo sits and Deontay's hurt. So he's got some options. Oh, Joe Mixon down there too. Don't think he plays this week, but
hmm
I know he
yeah.
practiced Friday, I think. So and
hmm
then interesting. I don't know if this is Arby's lineup. I mean, he's going
Yeah,
Brian Thomas without and not playing either Seattle running back on
yeah,
Monday night. Interesting play.
yeah.
What do you
Oh
take?
yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you think?
I feel like yeah, I'm gonna go with Aaron. But like yeah, there's a little uncertainty there. I mean, there's I think he's just waiting to see. Of course, like we all do this where we could change at the last second. I mean, I've done that
Sure,
plenty of times. I'm sure you have as well.
sure.
So he has a time to put Kenny Walker in. If I think Walker's gonna play.
Yep,
Obviously if he's healthy, I mean, you would think, and I would probably want to plug him in over. I would plug him in over Steele. I mean, I think if he's healthy, I mean, Thomas. I know Jacksonville's been terrible. I actually like Brian Thomas. I think Thomas
me
Jr.
too.
is playing pretty well considering he's a rookie, and I think they're going to get Evan Ingram
Yeah,
being out, another guy to like feed the ball. As you can see, I mean, that's
not bad.
five passes, 5 of 9 targets, and they got blown out. So I mean, you can't really, but you get 10 points, 10 or more points from him. You feel pretty good. So like, and I just feel like. I mean, even I'll take Aaron here, but like, yeah, I just feel like this has got to be the night. Sam Laporta gets the rock. You got to feed him the rock. I mean, you should be able to, feed both, considering the fact that like, I mean, I know like they have Jameson Williams too, but like, I just feel like it's tough because a lot of guys in that team, they just got to like, they have a lot of people to feed. They have two running backs, so like, I
Yep,
mean, they try to use equally maybe, but like, yeah, I just feel like a little bit of uncertainty there. But like, yeah, I just feel like he's got to be involved. He's got to get back to like scoring 20 points. I mean, you can get 20 from both those guys. I mean, he has a chance to definitely has a chance to beat him. Maybe his brother,
sure.
but I'll give just a couple of those top names that Mahomes, Chase, even Garrett Wilson. I feel like if Garrett Wilson, obviously Surtain's on him, maybe not. But I feel like they're playing home, so maybe it's the Garrett Wilson's time to like have a breakout game. You know what I mean? Like drop a 25 piece. You know what I mean on him. But yeah, I'll give a slight edge to Aaron, but very close edge there.
Yep, I agree. Last matchup is another 0-3 team. Um, Phil
Oh,
against Pain Train. Um, so I mean, had to love, not that he was, he's been doing it all year. Unfortunate for the concussion late. Hopefully that's nothing. They got a little bit longer time to recover, but great
mm,
start with Malik Neighbors. Guy continues just to put up some ridiculous numbers for a rookie. I love Malik Neighbors, but
oh
to your
yeah.
point, the Daniel Jones thing scared me away a little bit too. But
Mm,
he's going to go with Geno Smith, which Sny and I did talk about a little bit. He's going to kind of stack that JSN move with his flex that he just received on that Rick trade. A couple small trades, I would say overall. We didn't highlight them, but nothing
yeah.
really big to kind of touch on. But
Yeah.
that is
No.
one piece that we kind of mentioned, and then still love the Jets D at home against Denver and Bo Nix. So his RB2 spot's just terrible with Tajay Spears, but I do like the rest of his lineup, and then Phil, kind of like we mentioned, plug and play Justin Fields. Lave's questionable now with a late injury. I think yesterday, or I'm sorry, yeah, yesterday I think it came out. Um, like we mentioned, Terry McLaurin is in, and that's really the only move. And Goddard, and which obviously would make a lot of sense considering there's nobody to catch the ball for the Eagles
Yeah.
this week. Everyone's out. But let's kind of take a peek down here. I mean, sitting Richardson, kind of the only noteworthy move really on either side. I think we kind of highlighted both. Who do you like? I got Train here. I think by a nose.
Yeah, I did just because of the start what he had from Malik Neighbors was huge. I mean, you don't win your matchup based on one player playing on Thursday, but like I'm gonna give the edge to the train. But yeah, it's like there's like because the uncertainty too, like feels like for Phil's sake, like Olave is a true game time decision. Like, do you risk it? Even the game time decision, like we wake up tomorrow morning, we get the report from Rapp or Schefter saying, okay, he's gonna play. But maybe he
Yeah,
re-aggravates it during the game and he gets like he gets his goose egg or one. So like,
I
do
mean,
you risk it? But like,
he'll probably slide in Waddle, I'm
yeah,
guessing.
yeah, for sure. It's just like it sucks because like I mean, most people will say they love Olave. I mean, he's a great player. He's the
Sure.
number one. So like, maybe not. But like, him not be if he doesn't play, that's a big miss. I think a big loss for him. I mean, he's obviously started Terry this week. It's a great start, and I guess it comes down to the quarterback spot. I'm gonna preach it again. Who's out of these two guys, who's gonna have more points? I mean, I think Fields, the way Fields runs the ball, I mean, he's always going to have like more points that way. Gino has the better receiving core. He's got three great guys. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba I mean, it's tough to. I think he's the third receiver on that team, but like, I mean, he could easily be two, and Lockett's still there. Is he
Hmm.
is he a main cog on the team anymore? No, because DK is their number one, and like I'd like to think that Jackson Smith is going to be their number two at some point. But like last week, 3 catches for 39 yards. Week one, two for 19. So like besides that game against the New England Patriots, I mean I was on the road, so like maybe like you got to throw the ball more and we'll see what happens with the running back spot. But like I'm going to give the edge to Snyder. Hopefully he can get something out of Tajay Spears. I mean, he's got Pollard. Phil's got Pollard. He's got
Yeah.
Spears. So like, it's just like I'm assuming. I mean, Pollard's pretty good. I'm sure
Definitely.
he thought maybe Spears was going to be maybe take over that spot during the season. I have Spears in the Pinos league, so like I'm with Snyder there. Like I mean, I have to start him. Is what it is. But I'll go
Yeah,
with Snyder.
I think yeah, I mean Snyder's going to lose this. I'm taking Snyder, but Snyder's going to lose this matchup if Jacobs and Spears have bad games. Mainly Jacobs, because Spears you're not expecting
Yeah.
more than 8 to 10, and if he gets that, he's happy. Just based off of some
Mm-hmm.
of his other projections, but Jacobs is projected 15 almost. I do think he's going to get the run, and I hope Jordan Love does provide maybe a little bit more of um, I don't know, some room to run for Jacobs. Like you mentioned, I mean, we saw a bunch of callbacks on holds. Unfortunately, last week they've been pretty, I would say, penalized team in terms of offensive penalties overall. So hopefully they clean that up. It's a tough matchup at home, but um, he's going to lose that matchup to Phil if his running backs don't perform because Phil has some really good running backs: Aaron Jones, Bijan, and as you mentioned, Tony Pollard. So Phil's got a pretty strong team overall this week in terms of matchups and
Yeah.
just some guys that are out on these teams. Like Goddard this week, I think he's got to get funneled. I mean, he's gonna have 10 plus targets. He has to.
Yeah. At this
So
point, with all those guys injured, yeah. Mhm.
I'm gonna go with Train. But I don't know.
Choo
This is the
choo.
scare. This is the scariest matchup I think out of all the ones that I've picked in terms of predictions. Well, we ran through it. Appreciate you coming on. It was nice to kind
Yeah.
of get something out. Hopefully, I can get this posted at some point tomorrow morning onto YouTube, or at least get the file out so everyone can listen to it if they want to before we kick off. Good luck to everybody for week 4. We are going to have, I mean, there's 2 3-0 teams that are playing not against each other this week, and 3-0 and 3 teams not playing against each other this week. So could have a couple losses across the board and a couple wins across the board. We'll see.
Yeah, and like I will say this, I looked it up. I started 0-3 twice in my I would say relatively short time in this league. I mean, I'm not a lifer. I mean, I came in 2015, started 0-3, but I found a way to like avoid the dress, avoid last place. So I'm kind of hoping that. I mean, obviously everyone's goal is to make the playoffs, but I don't 0-4 start, which I think I'm going to have. I probably got to kiss the playoffs bye bye, but I want to like just try to avoid finishing last. So yeah, just hoping for the best for Fink. So just that was a little tidbit again, just for people that wanted to know that.
That might have been, could possibly come back to be the biggest jinx you put on yourself there. I will leave that tidbit. Uh,
Wow.
I mean, hey,
Oof.
you're talking early dress call out late here in the pod. I think this needs to be noted. Nobody wants to wear the dress, but we'll see. Things shake out as they do, and there's a lot of season to be played. There's still let's see, 12 more weeks really, or 13 more weeks.
Yeah,
No,
extra
12.
playoff spot too. So you never know.
12 and an extra playoff
Make,
spot. Yeah.
make a comeback
So
for sure. We'll see. But yeah, definitely glad to be here. Glad to be on. And who knows when I'll be back again. But I think we'll be back on the pod. Maybe discussing another disaster. I might be winless for a while, so we'll see. Yeah, glad to be back on the pod. So great talking to you, brother.
yeah, appreciate you jumping on. Good luck to everybody, and we'll be back next week. Peace.
All right, deuces.